Starting. We're live.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Strange Tales Weekly. With me always is Eric.
Hey.
And Joe.
Hello.
And tonight we have UFO Jane from Texas UFO Sightings joining us. Hi, Jane.
Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for being with us.
Yeah, thank you for joining us tonight. I did want to ask you if you could introduce yourself to the audience and tell them a little bit about yourself.
Of course, yeah. So my name is Jane, and I have been, I'm probably like a lot of you watching. I just think UFOs are super interesting. And so I had a journalism degree from University of Texas at Austin, years back, and I knew how to write up a news story, and I discovered that there were all these UFOs being seen in Texas, and there wasn't really local news reporting on it. So I started doing that on TexasUFOsightings.com in 2012, and really have just been doing that ever since. And the rest is history. Yep.
Wow. So that's really what inspired you to design and make the website, because that's a lot of work.
Yeah, so I was, a writer, typer, journalist, journalism degree. And so my husband truly grew up, finding himself in those corners of the library where those weird books are, that nobody else reads, that you don't learn about in school.
That's my favorite section.
Yeah,
me too,
he was just so I met him, and he really was a library on all of this. And I was like, whoa, what? Like, what? This stuff, there's books out like this, and there's these stories and these cases. And so then I, immediately went down the rabbit hole and, started looking into things happening here in Texas. And, well, people started sending me their sightings. So then it really turned into an obligation where, wow, I need to give these witnesses a voice and, help connect the dots and, whatever way I could.
Okay, that leads me to my next question. So, say someone has a sighting, what type of things could they, what should they write down? What should they report when they're making a report?
Such a good question. Yes. So, well, first of all, if they have a camera, get it out. I know I was chatting with you guys. Sorry to be disappointing, but I'm not really an experiencer. I haven't really seen many amazing things. But one time I thought I saw a UFO, and I didn't grab my phone or anything. And I didn't even, try to guess how large is that, or, what shape or anything. I was just like, is that a UFO? So I would say, try to snap out of whatever funk this UFO puts you in, grab a phone if you can. If there's people nearby, try to find other witnesses that can share this experience with you so that you can document it afterward. Other than that, hang around. What does the UFO do? Try not to leave before it leaves. Try to stay there for the whole story if you can, and just observe. I mean, I don't think anybody is ever expecting to see a UFO, so I think that's part of the problem, is you're not ready with a phone in hand and you don't really know what to do when you've seen a UFO. So, once you've done your observation, there are a number of outlets these days that you can actually take your sighting to.
So, to Texas UFO sightings, or maybe MUFON, or does MUFON do it?
MUFON's a wonderful resource. I consider MUFON a resource. So I'm regularly looking at MUFON reports all the time. Many Texas sightings go into MUFON, and they have an awesome investigative team. You can try, try out to be a field investigator for MUFON. So they do some really wonderful work. However, there's only so many MUFON field investigators, right? And there's tons of sightings. So, MUFON gets some, I get some directly. People will just tweet about things they see. They'll post directly to YouTube. So it's every which way you can imagine, people are getting their sightings out there.
So you seek out that information, or do you get more people come to you?
It depends on the week, but I get reports regularly. And then I also troll the web, and I'm actually searching for tweets. I'm regularly searching for YouTube. Don't know if any of you guys do UFO searches on YouTube, but I would caution you, because there's a lot of fake CGI videos. There's a lot of really great UFO channels like Texas UFO Sightings, and then there are others that seem to just post. I don't even know where they're getting half of these videos, right?
Yeah.
But there are people seeing things and then quickly uploading a video to YouTube, and you can find, if you're looking at it every day like I am, you can find those sightings that otherwise would totally have just disappeared and been buried.
So do you do you also track all the statistics and stuff? Is a certain time of year more active for UFO sightings, certain areas or whatnot more active in the state?
So I definitely have access to more. I have some statistics and more access, and I have some plans to do, because like I said, I've been documenting this for years. And right now there's, for any triangle UFO report on the site, you'll see there's an embedded Google map that has all the recent triangle UFOs
Cool. That's
from
really
the past
cool.
few years, right? And so I'd like to do a lot more with that and this documented evidence that I have. But what I can just say intuitively really is I've seen just certain years have themes. That's how I sort of know something is up, right? Because it's one thing to see a MUFON report about a gray alien encounter, right? But then if I also get a report into my inbox from somebody separate in a nearby city that month, that tells me, out of the blue, right? So that is really what I focus on. Whereas I think the MUFON field investigator, they're out there in the field, working one case at a time, and that's needed, but it's very time consuming, right? So I try to look over, all the trees. Yeah.
No, that's really great. And I really hope there's other people like you, doing the same work, because how can we spot these trends if we don't have enough people recording them?
Yeah, and that's really all it is. It's documenting, recording. I have theories. I definitely have some theories.
Do you want to talk about the theories?
So we could definitely. That's obviously the more fun stuff than the straight up facts, right?
I guess we're finishing up facts, and then we're gonna
right. Let's fit it out with the facts. We'll just kidding. What's interesting. So in my documentation, there are definitely some themes that we've seen that make sense, that correlate with what other UFO researchers have found, for example, even with historic cases. And a few of those things are the triangle UFOs. I feel very confident to say that is a real phenomenon. When I say triangle UFO, I mean really the classic dark, silent, large, triangular shaped craft that has been seen hovering or flying by many folks all over the U.S. and even outside the U.S., but that's been a special trend in Texas. And I believe it was summer 2014 that really started to pick up, and there were a lot of sightings around then, and it kind of quieted down a little bit. And then I'm starting to see some new reports recently. And so that's been a really interesting phenomenon, I think.
So do you think in those cases that the Texas is that particularly interesting to that sort of UFO, or do you think that might be something more military or something like that?
It's hard not, I think with any UFO case, it's hard not to go to is this top secret military, right? Yes, it's a craft doing nothing we know man can do, but maybe the government, knows something we don't know. So I think that's totally a valid point. And it would also make you wonder, well, why do we see these top secret military crafts flying over our cities in these sort of different patterns? Is there some kind of space warfare or something a little frightening like that happening about that we're not aware? Are we being observed? Is this happening on purpose? And then, of course, the more fun theory would be that if these are military, could they be reverse engineered from, alien triangle craft?
Hey, Eric, I was going to say, Eric has I don't know if you're familiar with this article that came out, but Eric, did you want to talk about the military spending?
Oh, there was a recent article that came out about the Department of Defense funding research into UFO technology. Have you seen anything about that?
Well, so I mean, I know that that's happening. So I know that big story in December 2017 that New York Times came out where the Pentagon was like, yeah, we've been investigating UFOs with black-up money from like 2007 to 2011. So I've seen, stories like that, but I hadn't heard of this most recent development, but it's not surprising.
It's basically along the lines of that.
Yeah, it's not surprising.
what we've known the whole time, really, finally admitting it a little bit.
Exactly. I personally think, I don't know if you guys recall that New York Times story. I know in my UFO world and in my community, it was very much paid attention to, but I think a lot of average Americans maybe didn't. But that December 2017 to me was a very pivotal point in the UFO history timeline. And I think we'll see this trend line of increasing toward disclosure that
what do they call it? Slow drip disclosure.
Yes. Some people disagree with me though, and they think, oh, disclosure will never happen. We just always talk about it. But I think we've always been talking about it. And I think there's a reason for that. And it's building to something and not nothing.
Right. And with Ancient Aliens, popularity and all that.
Yes.
It's like kind of like the 100th monkey syndrome. And so we're all just thinking about it collectively. And then it's,
absolutely.
Shit.
I think Ancient Aliens is a huge part, a huge factor in disclosure that's already happening. I actually have a YouTube video up of Alien Con's great for anybody watching. The Ancient Aliens cast are there and they give awesome speeches and are there for autographs and stuff. But Jorge Suculos, so I think that might be a picture.
Yeah, this is drawn by Eric. I have a great picture. I met him at Contact and I got a great picture with him. I got to chat with him for a minute. So nice.
Yeah. He said at Alien Con, and I guess summer 2017, that long ago, the disclosure is already happening. That was his opinion. So I tend to agree with that.
I think next month here in LA we have Conscious Life, and I think Eric Von Daniken's going to be there and
that's
stuff.
Cool.
And there, and I think a couple other people from Ancient Aliens.
And he's great. He's a great speaker too, Eric Von Daniken. So that's
I've seen him online. I have not seen him live.
Yeah, he was also at Alien Con. So
that's cool.
That was it's a fun event for sure.
Was Glurp there?
Yes, so Glurp's a hit, and we hope to go to Alien Con this next summer. We're figuring out what events to go to, but Glurp the alien will be at those events for anybody who wants to meet him. He's always a hit. There's always a line to take pictures with Glurp.
Aw.
Yes.
So who is Glurp?
Yeah. Right. You gotta explain.
Glurp the alien. So I have a partner in all this UFO research, and so Glurp the alien, you can follow him on Instagram.
Awesome.
And he's an alien. I don't know what else more to say. And so he makes appearances in the Weird UFO show, and Glurp helps with some editing and some things of that nature.
Build alien. Does he use alien technology to edit?
Oh, that's awesome.
I have to keep a lot of that secret.
Oh,
so yeah.
So it's at Glurp the alien.
I have to add that on Instagram.
Yeah, he's on Instagram and he posts sometimes. So, and we'll definitely he'll be at any event we go to. Cool. For sure. Yeah.
I'm all behind. Sorry, Glurp. I was trying to comment, but I can't comment because I'm not logged into YouTube. Glurp, there he is.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah, the little kitties though are fun waiting in line for him because he's quite intimidating to them. So that's
so awesome.
Watch. We're helping with disclosure, right? Being comfortable with the alien presence.
Well, yeah, I mean, what the predictive programming they put out with us in the movies, right?
Right. Well, yeah, I mean, so you guys have seen Close Encounters of the Third Kind, I would assume. I mean, wonderful movie. I'm a big Spielberg fan. So there's a case out of Texas, actually, that occurred after Close Encounters of the Third Kind that had some similarities. So in 1980 in Texas, in the Piney Woods, like north of Houston, there was a Ash Landrum incident. And so that was a very famous case where there was a grandmother and her grandson and then another woman friend, and they were driving along the woods, and they see a diamond-shaped craft with the top cut off is how they described it, just hovering, glowing there in the sky. And I can't remember if it was Becky Cash or Vicki Landrum, but one of the women got out of the car to look at it, and she was slapped with heat in her face. Yes, and it was emitting powerful heat to the extent that the metal on the car was too hot to touch. Yeah, and so they got back into I don't know, actually, the little boy stayed in the car. At one point they retreated back to the car, but they were able to witness helicopters swarm that craft. And yes, and so what's really interesting though is Close Encounters of the Third Kind. There's that, give anything away, but there's
I think it's okay, spoiler free at this point,
especially in this video for this audience. But
right.
Dreyfus, he has that like sunburn experience from the contact, and that is actually what occurred with these ladies. So they experienced radiation poisoning symptoms.
That was going to be my question. Did they get radiation?
Yeah. So like they had like a sunburn, nausea, dizziness. Becky Cash was hospitalized for 12 days. And they actually tried to sue the government because they believed that they knew about this craft, and the suit was thrown out. But now circle back to, 2019, where we know now that, very obviously now that UFOs have been real and that they were all just classified. It's like, wow, we should revisit these cases.
The same thing happened with that Flatwoods Monster. And what was that, in the 50s?
Yeah, see, that
weird one.
Episode of Bluebeam had the Flatwoods Monster, and I didn't even watch it yet.
That's a really weird one.
Is it? Okay.
It's interesting. You think about all the different alien sightings that there have been, like the gray alien, everybody knows that. But there's definitely these kind of more monstrous creatures. I think I would prefer to hang out with the gray alien. Yeah. So it's
what are some of the other types?
Yeah. So I mean, we all know the gray aliens, of course, and those, to me, I feel like there's been the most evidence of those. Those are always the ones that are associated with the tangible crashes, tangible Roswell crash. There were actually there are other crash files that you can seek out online.
So they're not great pilots.
Right. or there are just so many of them. But there is a theory about these grays is that they are, maybe the reason they're not the best pilots is because maybe they are engineered or are bioengineered by another species of alien that maybe would be a better pilot, and that the gray aliens are actually in smaller craft that might come from larger craft and other ET species, namely the reptilian. Is kind of, that's the lore online. So that gets really convoluted when you start to think of it that way. There's people that think there are gray just actual gray alien species, and that they've actually cloned themselves or made, you know, robot versions of themselves. So you get really dizzy really quick. But if you think of how complex our society is, and how many different, maybe not species of humans these days, but how many variety there is to us, is it really that strange, you know, to think of it that way? So that would definitely be the most front and center, the gray alien, just because they're so often described by witnesses. So it's really hard to discount that. The other, I have not seen quite as much documentation of the reptilians, which is a little comforting because they do have a negative connotation. I guess it goes back to biblical times, you know, the tempting snake, you know, or the scary, maybe even the scary fire-breathing dragon. So it's a much more, you know, the reptilian serpent, you know, it's a much more negative reputation that they have compared to other rumored species of aliens like the humanoids and the grays. So
are there particular ships that relate to particular species?
So I think because we have so many, there are, like I said, there's different crash. You guys can go research different UFO crashes, and they're often associated with the saucers and the grays. So that there definitely seems to be, the grays seem to pilot the classic flying saucer that we imagine in our head stereotypically as a UFO. And then again, the reptilians seem to be associated with more negative, kind of scary big craft, like the triangles and the even long cigar shaped craft. I've read some links to that. So, you know, could it be possible that there's some really big ship with a reptilian in it, and they're sending out little, you know, smaller ships,
little pods with,
right? Because Roswell, right, was actually pods,
right? It was like a two-man ship, maybe. Was it two or yeah, two-man ship? Two aliens.
The story's changed over the years, you know, with Roswell. So that one's hard to grasp these days after all the years
of the mixing. And
there's so many different. It's really funny. With all these cases, you'll see there's like 20 different debunkings of Roswell. Like Popular Science, you know, has written probably like 5 different theories.
It's a weather balloon.
Yeah, pick one. Yeah. But there's more than that. I mean, people talk about the blue avians, which
we're gonna get into some blue avians.
I mean, there's I would imagine that they are not flying your typical like saucers and triangles. They're just dematerializing, you know, or in some mystical orb like UFO would be my thoughts on those.
Do you know about like Corey Good and the blue avians?
So it's really
Chuck Pino just joined us.
Whoa, we have a surprise guest, Chuck.
What's up, everybody?
Hi.
Literally jumped from one video to another. How are you doing, Jay? Nice to meet you.
nice.
This
to
is
meet
our
you.
Texas guy.
Yeah, I hear you from Texas.
I hear you're from Texas.
Where are you? Like in Central Texas, or?
I am. I'm in a small town called Canyon Lake. We're right in between Austin and San Antonio.
I know.
Okay, Murder Chuck in Canyon Lake, Texas.
781.
What is your address?
Yeah, right?
The aliens
Dude,
want to know.
I just jumped on. I'm already getting dates. What a great show you guys have here. Sorry, and I'm really excited. I told the guys we had a Kickstarter that literally just funded for a book that I'm a part of. Thank you. So really excited, and I told them, I said, okay, cool. Now I got to go support my my alien friends. So I'm over here, and I wanna hear all about Texas and aliens.
Yeah, Chuck, do you have any specific Texas questions as a Texan?
I do. So I do. So did you already ask any of the questions that I mentioned there? Jess, or no?
No, I actually haven't gone into like actual areas or heavy hotspots.
Chuck, you have
Awesome.
YouTube on right now?
Pardon me?
You have YouTube on right now?
I do. Why?
Huh?
I do. Why?
Because I'm hearing us talk sometimes.
Oh, you shouldn't, but it's off now.
All right, go with your questions.
Okay, so my first question was, in Texas, with aliens and everything, where would you say the main hubs of activity are?
Yeah, so it's unfortunately or fortunately the big cities with the airports and lots of people out there looking up at the sky. Definitely you get more sightings. So Austin, San Antonio, Houston. So that unfortunately kind of muddles up, your stats a little bit, because it's really just, the amount of people out there, and it's easy to misidentify a plane. So that's definitely a factor that you can't really get away from. Heavily populated areas are going to be more likely to report UFOs. But I'll say some of the more interesting places, El Paso. There are interesting cases out of El Paso with surprising frequency. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to get away from those big cities. All the top sightings, I've covered over the years, or Austin, the triangles over Austin has been definitely a theme. One of our close friends, actually, early on when we were doing the site, witnessed a triangle UFO over a music concert in Austin, and he was very excited to share that with us. So there's definitely, yeah. What have you seen out in Canyon Lake? Have you seen anything?
No, not yet. I mean, I've seen lots of weird things, but that's just mostly because I'm surrounded by rednecks. But as far as actual sightings, I mean, to be completely honest, I haven't really had any sightings. I'm just really interested to know where I would have to go to try to find that.
Well, you could go to Marfa, Texas. Now, the Marfa Lights are ongoing.
Whoa,
so that's
wait.
an ongoing phenomenon.
Marfa Lights?
Yes. So Marfa, and it's quite a drive even for me. So it would be for you guys as well.
Where are you, if you don't mind my asking?
Central Texas. So I'm not far from you. So Austin area. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Austin's my hometown. And by the way, the motto in Austin, it fits well here, is keep it weird. But yeah, so the Marfa Lights in Marfa, Texas. So that's an ongoing light phenomenon that occurs that, maybe you'll just be lucky and see these lights. There are some people who've done some experiments, and they believe that it has to do with reflections of actually cars on the highway, sort of reflecting off of the sky in a strange way. However, there's quite a bit of debate on that, and these lights have legend and lore that go back to the 1800s. Well, well before lots of roadway traffic. So I'm very eager to get out there and do my own experiment. And maybe, somebody watching here lives close by and can do that as well and report back to us. But so yeah, you could always go check out that. But yeah, I shared earlier in this interview, Chuck, how it seems to be more that sightings trends happen. So the actual sightings drive the trends, right? So if there are a lot of triangle UFOs in Central Texas, I'm going to get a lot of reports out of that. I don't know that there's any particular city in Texas that appears to be a UFO magnet. But if I find it, I'll let you know.
I would love to hear that.
You get one more question, Chuck.
I get one more question?
One more question.
I'm gonna use it. Okay, so in Texas, what would you say is the coolest or strangest alien story that you ever heard?
So my favorite Texas case is not one I was around for, that any of us was around for, or any of our grandparents. So it's in 1897 in Aurora, Texas. So that's outside Dallas. So in the late 1800s, there were actually a wave of mystery airship sightings, not just in Texas, but all over the U.S., or maybe not all over, along the West Coast and Texas. And one of those ships crashed in Aurora, Texas. You can see some witness drawings online if you search. It's essentially like a cigar-shaped large object. And rumor has it, or the story goes, that an alien body was actually recovered from that crash and buried in Aurora, Texas. And there's still a headstone, I think, that you can maybe take a picture with, but it's not in the same location. And obviously, you know, military swooped in shortly after that event, the story goes. And so it's hard to find. We don't know where that alien body could be today. But that's one of my favorite cases. And again, there were other airship sightings at the time, as well as one of those sightings was associated with another contact case that I think was in California. And these ships were seen so frequently that I think it was Thomas Edison or, somebody had to say, no, I did not make these ships. These are not mine, because people were having actual theories about, not alien theories, wondering were these advanced ships.
Were these with the airship thing? Did you ever hear the airship thing back, I think, in the turn of the century, where people were sighting airships before we
that's
fought?
what I'm referring to. Yeah, so that was before the Wright brothers, and
right.
And that's what this Aurora, Texas, 1897 case was part of. Yeah, so the fact that there was an alien body also apparently retrieved, and then there was another alien contact case associated with the other airship in California. So that's a lot, and that was well before Roswell, well before drones. These were not Chinese lanterns, though. Some people did guess they could be hot air balloons, because there were hot air balloons at this time. But the witness descriptions don't really fit that. So, yeah, I mean, really, those are some of the earliest UFO reports, and that's, right here in Texas.
Wow. Hey, that's so cool. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I just wanted to hop on real quick, ask you some questions. That was so neat. Thank you so much. I'll watch the rest of the show. Thanks for having me on, guys. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for popping in, Chuck.
Thank you, guys. Much love. See ya.
See ya.
Bye.
So, is it common for helicopters to show up at sightings?
I don't know if common would be the word, but that's definitely something that I see. Yes, people will describe helicopters appearing, almost seeming to escort, or be observing or interacting with UFOs. That definitely happens. And it of course makes you wonder, well, then could these be military craft? Or are our military approaching not knowing what these are, right?
Yeah, it almost sounds more like that, the latter. They don't know what's going on. Especially
like that 1980 case I was sharing about in Texas, in East Texas, the diamond-shaped craft. I think one of the witnesses counted as many as 23 helicopters that swarmed that UFO. Yeah, so it wasn't just a few.
Yeah,
they were interested in it. And there was another confirmed account of those helicopters as well. Not of the UFO, but of the helicopters from that time.
Have you heard of dog fights happening with UFOs and military?
I don't know that I've documented any that were clear. I hate to harp on it, but the triangle UFOs, that is when I've seen evidence of there was a case where the triangle was described as wobbling, as if it was struggling to fly. So that's where my mind went. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's some fight, some warfare going on here.
Do you think the military is watching you for documenting all this stuff? Because, I mean, it is kind of unique. And if there's a military component to it, they would be looking at people like you, I think. Really, not to scare you, but
no, I accepted that a long time ago. That's just the nature. Well, I figured if that's true, then this is a really important topic, you know, that we should all talk about. So if anything, it probably motivates me a little more. I have seen, I don't know about that. I don't know that I'm that interesting. I think there's a lot of UFO researchers out there now that don't all have YouTube shows, you know, but they're researching. There's so many of us now. So I think they're watching all of us, and I don't think they have to make much effort. You know, we're all posting on Instagram and Twitter. I mean, I'm pretty, you know, open book. There's really nothing to monitor. So that doesn't worry me at all. Yeah, I mean, I'm the least of the military's worries, really. The aliens are much greater concern than me, is the way I see it. So.
Right on, that makes sense.
So what do you think it is? So do you think Texas is more like a bigger hotspot than other areas? I mean, it's a bigger state, obviously, but you think is there more UFOs in Texas than in that whole area? I know we get a lot from, you know, that whole region of the country, really.
It's very active. It's very active. I mean, you definitely see some years where it's ranked lower or higher, you know, just depending on the year, where Texas is ranked with other states. I mean, it's really hard to get away from how big this state is and just how many people there are and the variety of cities and lots of sky. It's really hard to get away from that. But I do think that Texas is very active. I think that's why I've ended up in this place, because it obviously is. But I mean, there's a ton of stuff that comes out of California. So I actually do cover national cases on the site and on the YouTube pretty regularly, actually. So, I mean, they're everywhere. You don't really have to go to a specific city or try to seek out a certain location. You just keep your eyes to the sky, and if you're meant to see something, you're probably going to see something one day.
What's like an extraordinary case that stands out to you, maybe recently, past couple years?
Yeah, so I think it's interesting. There's been so many cases and different witnesses, and I think it's more the themes that come out of it, the things you seem to hear over and over again that strike me and make me think, well, what is going on here? So there's lots of that, and I think going back to the Greys and the alien abduction phenomenon is very interesting to me because I do get those reports. However, and they're fascinating. Actually, we were talking about the different alien types, and there was actually a report I got of a praying mantis like alien. It actually rubbed its hands together before taking off. Very, very creepy.
Ew.
So, yeah, so I definitely am drawn to those contact cases and I'm interested in those details, but I think what's more interesting is how similar they all are. So many people that have a supposed abduction or contact experience, they are usually sleeping at the time, and so it occurs in like a dream-like state or upon waking. Whereas I think we can go back to the past, like 40s and 50s, where encounters with the Greys seemed very much like physical and tangible. So there seems to have been a shift that if aliens are still abducting and messaging us and contacting us, that they're doing it in a more remote way than they used to.
Technology. They got better technology.
It seems like it. So that's been fascinating to me to follow and wonder about. I mean, we all know that sleep paralysis is a real phenomenon. We know we all dream and it's possible to hallucinate. And I know all those, skeptical debunkings. But I do believe the alien abduction phenomenon is real, but it's hard to call it anything but a phenomenon. Because you just can't get that hard physical evidence out of those contact cases. I believe those people experience those things, and I believe them. So that's interesting, and that's happening in Texas for sure.
Very cool. Let's see.
Where do you think all this is leading to? I mean, is it going to be? I mean, we can theorize all day, but are we gonna? Are the aliens going to help us, and we're going to leave the planet? Or are they going to save the planet? Like, what is it all leading to?
It definitely seems like we're headed toward a situation where somebody's going to tell us something about aliens. That that aliens are going to be part of the news. It might be something very boring, like we found, which NASA's almost said this. We found some bacterial, some small life on Mars, kind of boring, but it might be something like that, or it could be something much more dramatic. Now, while I believe that aliens are real and that there's definitely evidence that they're visiting, I would just say that we should be cautious of government or media, of their narrative about aliens. Because all we have to do is look back at that narrative throughout the years and know that it's been disingenuous and not included all the truth. And so while I enjoy looking at Roswell, I think FBI.gov and CIA.gov are some of the best evidence for UFOs and alien visitation. You have to wonder why that's being shared with us, and what will be shared with us next. And we have to keep in mind that we know UFOs and aliens are classified. I mean, we know that if there was contact made, it would be classified. So we should know that whatever story we are getting or not getting, we're only getting so much of the story. I don't know how else to put it, but that's what I would caution people. And that's what I do think we're leading to, some kind of story about alien visitation or intervention or discovery.
Cool. So disclosure first. And maybe it happens through the media, like Ancient Aliens and Tom DeLonge's To the Stars Academy. I guess he wants to make a bunch of movies and stuff.
Yes, he hasn't. I don't know that he's been speaking very much recently on the UFO. He was very chatty early on with To the Stars Academy when they were funding that. And then the second book came out, Secret Machines, and then kind of been back in music worlds. But his organization is marching forward, and they were actually part of that Pentagon disclosure in December 2017. So yeah, so there's a lot of people just kind of on standby, ready to go. So yeah, I don't know, and I think the next election, we don't need to get political, but I think that will dictate, how the story is told, after 2020 for sure.
Cool.
I think we had a Chuck thing here.
Yeah, there's a couple questions.
There's a couple questions. Do you think that it might be more remote because our technology is better and the aliens are trying hard not to be seen?
I think that's absolutely a fair theory. Why wouldn't aliens adapt to us? Like, why would we've adapted? Think about it. When we had cars and then planes in the early 1900s, and then we were on the moon in 1969, and now we're talking about now we send satellites and robots to Mars. So I don't know why we wouldn't expect the same progression with any advanced alien species visiting. So I think it makes complete sense to me. How can they visit and interact with us without leaving behind any evidence?
No, it's true, right?
or not get captured on an Instagram video story,
So do you have any places that you really want to go that are alien hotspots maybe that you haven't been able to? Huh?
So many. Yeah. We talked about Aurora. I've been in the area before, but I haven't been. I'd like to talk to people who've lived there. Maybe have grandparents, who can maybe remember what that time was like. But man, I want to travel everywhere. I had Praveen Mohan on for an interview. He's been on Ancient Aliens, and he's India world explorer, and he was sharing all about all the megalithic sites and in India. And there's actually some interesting stuff here in Texas too. Yeah, I want to go everywhere. I'd love to, speaking of Ancient Aliens, it definitely makes you want to go and touch those megalithic.
Like go and visit those places they talk about. Yeah, no, for sure.
Exactly, and see for yourself and make your own theories, and so yeah, there's endless places though. I mean, Mexico obviously is not too far away, and that would be fun to go check out those pyramids. I mean, as far as UFO cases, a UFO sighting happens and then it's over. So I don't necessarily have that draw, like I need to go exactly where Roswell happened, or I need to go exactly where the Rendlesham UFO, case happened in the UK. So it's kind of a moving target.
What about crop circles? Go stand in a crop circle, maybe?
I'd love to. I actually had an interview with a crop circle expert too on the YouTube show, and he believes that most of them are real. And he says like being in a crop circle is, or at least a real one, is a really amazing and just spiritual experience that you just can't quite, explain to somebody who hasn't. So yeah, I'm dying to go to a crop circle. That's kind of a moving target though, You kind of need to be in the area, right? Like ready to go. And I'm not in the UK. Yeah. Stonehenge. I mean, all that stuff would be amazing. Cool. What kind of download could I get versus just like researching, online like I do and talking to people here.
You have any projects coming up? What are you working on lately?
Yeah, so we got the Weird UFO show. We've got six episodes out. The idea is cool interviews, like you guys are doing here, and then also to have some kind of fun with it. So we're continuing with that, trying to make that as better as we can every time. So we've got some cool interviews coming.
Where does somebody find your YouTube channel?
Yep, so it's youtube.com. Well, TexasUFOs.com. Ultimately, you'll find everything from there. But youtube.com/Texas UFO sightings.
Nice.
Living with these, that was the handle from forever ago. So I know it's a lot to type out, but there's national stories there. I actually have a video there now, including some cool Japan UFO cases. So that's a fun one to watch if you want to get up to date on what's going on in the East, because talk about weird stuff. So yeah, just continuing forward and trying to figure out what events to go to. Like I'd mentioned, Alien Con this summer, so we want to get out with Glurp and see people and meet people. That's I want to do a lot more of that in 2019. So.
Awesome.
Covering UFOs.
When is the next Alien Con? I should probably know this. Is there another one yet?
Should be, I think, June in LA. They've been having so many lately.
So there's a lot popping up on Facebook. Yeah.
There was this one in Boston, wasn't there?
Oh yeah, I think they had one in Baltimore, and then they had
Baltimore.
They had another. Yeah, but then they had another one in addition to the LA one that they had announced. So it could have been Boston. They need to come to Texas. We need like a big event to come here, like Contact in the Desert or something.
Oh, I love it. Contact is so fun. You should try that one too.
Yeah, I've heard that lots of times.
It's like a big party weekend, really.
Yeah. I might have to follow your story, people's Instagram stories this year, because that's what I'll do. I'll just follow online and miss out.
Didn't you have Nick Redfern on your show?
Yeah, he was really great to talk to, and we naturally talked about Bigfoot and alien species. That we talked about that. Could Bigfoot be an alien? Because that theory's out there as well, because Bigfoot's been spotted near UFOs sometimes.
So what do you think? Do you think Bigfoot's an alien?
Well, I definitely think Bigfoot's real in the sense that it's not hard for me to believe that a giant, ape-like creature could have been seen, a long time ago and even to today. So that's not very hard for me to believe. But then considering the lack of evidence of Bigfoot and that we can't seem to get a body, it makes you wonder if there could be more mystical aspects about Bigfoot. Just the fact that we know so little about this creature that I'm pretty sure exists. you know, makes me wonder. And there are some Bigfoot sightings that have occurred near UFO sightings, that's really odd. And why do we never find their homes or find their deceased bodies or whatever? Are they, you know, are they coming to and from in some mysterious way?
Hide and seek champion, all-time hide and seek champion.
For real, yeah. Exactly. So yeah, very well could be hide and seek alien. And well, it's interesting though. I mean, look at Chewbacca in Star Wars, or you know, that's pretty much Bigfoot. And there he is, you know, flying, and we totally buy that, you know, that he could be this smart, big, hairy creature in space. So maybe we have a similar thing like that with Bigfoot here. Did you guys hear that story of that little boy that went missing?
The bear boy?
Yeah, that's what some people. Yeah, so for those who didn't know, he went missing and was found. It was amazing, and he said he hung out with a bear. Yeah. And so some people were wondering, well, maybe he hung out with Bigfoot.
Was it for like a couple days or something?
Yeah, I'm dying to know more, but I don't think they're going to keep interviewing this poor little kid about it. But that's what people were wondering. Let's
get him on the show.
Let's get that boy. His name's Casey something. I wrote that story with it. Let's call his mom.
Hilarious.
Have you been watching Project Blue Book?
So I have a confession. I'm a little afraid to watch Project Blue Book, and I've been covering it, like all up into it. I think I get nervous about the blend of fiction and nonfiction, because I know that Project Blue Book was real. And I, you know, for example, Lubbock Lights, I know, was featured in a recent episode, which was a huge case here in Texas. So I just get a little bit nervous about whatever fantasy is mixed in and like what impressions, you know, people might have from it. So I'm excited, and I have it like on my DVR, and I've been very happy that people are enjoying the show. I think I was also nervous that like maybe it won't be good, you know.
I feel like they haven't really been making it too fantastical. Like it's kind of what like the stories that you hear about these incidents.
Because basically they're just it's their Scully and Mulder, and they're going out and they're checking it out.
Right. Well, and then there should be some fantasy element even for like the hardcore UFO researcher, because we know there's more to the story too, right? So
yeah, there's like a subplot with some other characters that are a little more devious in the background that you don't know what's going on with them, and there's a little bit of that going on. But I think the cases are kind of presented as the evidence shows, like from the actual files.
I think my knowledge. Well, I think the combination of Ancient Aliens and Project Blue Book, you know, we're talking about disclosure earlier. Even my aunt the other day, you know, told me she watched Project Blue Book and she really liked it. I was like, wow, we've got a lot of good TV. This is fun. Yeah.
It's become more accepted, and Unsolved Mysteries coming back too. I wonder.
Can't wait.
That's going to be a big competitor for us.
I know. Wait, did our trench coats, did we order them yet?
So it's becoming more accepted, I think, with all this.
Yeah, and there's still a huge X-Files fan base, you know, online. Like I see it all the time, you know, when I'm looking up like real alien UFO research. That is like a hardcore fan base. And David Duchovny, actually, he was actually at a recent Alien Con.
Yeah, is that the one where he got a picture with Giorgio?
Yeah. Yes. So
did you meet him?
I didn't get to. I would have loved to though. Yeah, I have not met Tsoukalos yet, and I would really love to. I've met David Childress. I've met a number of them. They're also great and approachable. I found Linda Moulton Howe was really sweet, because she had her people were like trying to get her like to her next event or whatever, and she was just trying to sign, you know, as many autographs as she could. So yeah, they're great people, but I have not met Tsoukalos yet. So he's getting harder and harder to meet as time goes on. So I'm not sure if I ever will. Let's see.
Awesome. So, so people can find you at TexasUFOsighting.com
Yeah.
and also at YouTube/TexasUFOsighting.com,
Yeah.
right? And then they can find Glurb.
Yep, Alien. Yep, he's on Instagram. I'm on Instagram. I mean, we're everywhere. Twitter, Facebook. Facebook's actually the biggest.
Oh, nice.
There's over 10,000 people over on Facebook. So that's actually the biggest community. So if you live in Texas, that's probably, a good Facebook page to watch and monitor for all the latest sightings. But yeah, we're everywhere, I'm sure. TexasUFOs.com though for all the links.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us, Jane.
Thank you guys. This was so much fun. Had a blast.
Thank you.
I'd love to get you back. Stay in touch.
Please do. Okay.
Bye.
Thanks.
All right. Thanks for watching, everybody. Stay strange.
Stay strange, everyone. Good night.